Welcome to Soundbreaker. On today's episode, we're talking to Ralph Tashjian, who is the founder and CEO of Intercept Music. Ralph, good to have you on Soundbreaker, sir. And thank you for joining us. And for our listeners who might not be familiar with you, a quick introduction before we really dive into this insightful, inspiring, and actually really interesting conversation. I've been looking forward to it for a while, so I'm glad that you made it happen.
Bob, thanks a lot. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I've done a few of these in the last 3 or 4 months, and it's really wonderful because it's I want to inspire younger artists and people that are getting into this business, and I believe that I have a couple of words of advice that I think are critical in order to be successful in this game. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Bob.
Well, you know what? I interviewed a lot of people, not to discredit anybody. They're all amazing and fantastic. But you're the first one who actually took my last questions and started with that in the beginning. For that's why I wanted to have you on Soundbreaker.
Great.
Inspiring the younger generation who wanted to get in, empowering artists and all of that. This is what it's all about. Amazing. Amazing. Kudos to you, sir.
Yeah,
Definitely.
thank you, sir. It is, and it's what it's all about, and it's pretty basic, you know. I don't know where you want to start, but I started as a young guy in this business, and
Yes. What inspired you? What led you into that path of the music industry? Was it influenced by mom, dad, a friend, or just you? You know,
I'll give it to you real quick. I remember when I
please.
was a little kid down at Powell and Market in San Francisco, California, and I remember going into a record store and going into a booth, and they let me listen to a 45.
Uh huh.
And then you decided after you listened to it in the booth whether you wanted to buy it or not, right? And I think that was one of the beginning things. And then I have a family, we're Armenian, and they were all music teachers. My aunts were music teachers, violin. My father played a trumpet. I had bands when I was a kid. I was a terrible drummer. I was influenced music was in our lives from the
At a young age.
very young age.
Yeah.
And then I remember there's two artists that I recall as a teenager that really defined my taste in music, and it was Chuck Berry and Little Richard. Those two defined me and my taste in music, and I became really an R&B guy. I loved rock, and I loved some of the rock of the '60s and so on and so forth. But nothing touched me like Chuck Berry and Little Richard.
Amazing. So I get that. Now, how did you? Obviously, we want to talk about what led you to your latest amazing venture, Intercept Music, which we're going to talk about. But what was the path between that and now? What you know?
And we have to keep it brief because it's
Yes.
the real
Summarize
journey.
it for our amazing
Uh,
audience in
um,
Soundbreaker.
yeah, it was one hell of a journey.
Yeah.
I started out through fate as a local promotion guy for MCA Records in San Francisco in about 1974. And it was all through some local promotion guys that I knew there at the time. They moved on, and as fate would have it, I was able to, from a family business, I created a flower float for Elton John when he did his first tour in America, the Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player tour. I created this flower float. I had these friends that were local promotion guys for MCA. Elton flipped out. He said, whoever did this, I want him to help finish the tour. One thing led to a next. My friend got transferred to a national position, and believe it or not, I went from the streets in a family business in San Francisco to being local promotion for MCA. And that was the beginning of the career. They transferred me to Seattle. I broke some records up there. We broke records in San Francisco. Golden Earring, Radar Love, Phoebe Snow. There was a number of Leon Russell, J.J. Cale. I remember all of that at that point. And then they transferred me to New York. And that was, oh my God, what an experience. So here I am as a hippie kid from San Francisco, hair down to here, wearing Hawaiian shirts and clogs. And they sent me to New York, right? What a trip. They hired a guy who was an absolute legendary classic named Juggy Gales to take me around and kind of introduce me. It's the Big Apple, the biggest market in the country. And he was an amazing guy. He went on to have his own label and founded EPMD, but he knew every in and out. He would introduce me to Frankie Crocker, and what an experience. But I had a luck thing happen there, and it was a promotion luck thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't talk. I don't. Sometimes I don't bring this story up too often. But I was a local promotion guy, and I was emptying out my closet. The office was at 445 Park Avenue, and it was where McLeod was. It was the whole MCA office there, and it was all proper. We had English furniture. I remember putting posters up on the wall, and Lou Wasserman's wife came running down and said, "Take those down and put that picture of an English horse back up there." And I went, "Whoa. What are we in the record business, or what are we doing over here?" Right. So I'm emptying out my closet. And I'm going to the biggest radio station in America, right? WABC. And so everybody's saying, well, don't bring them that record. They only play records that are in the top 5 and they don't play these things. And I go, well, you know what? That's not my job. My job is to bring them everything. I've got to make them aware. So I had these records that I had promoted that were in Seattle, still weren't on the radio in New York, right? But here's this record by Freddie Cannon called Rock and Roll ABCs. Mm-hmm. Nobody had ever heard of it. Nobody was playing it in the country. So I go in and I meet this guy, Glenn, can't remember his last name. Rick Sklar was the program director at the time. And I bring him these records and I go, oh, by the way, I have this record, Rock and Roll ABCs. Isn't this WABC? And aren't you playing ABC 123 by the Jacksons? Looks like this record's made for you. I walk out of the radio station. They would never give you the ads on the radio station. You had to go in and pick them up from the receptionist because they were worried about people, whatever they were trying to do. I go pick the playlist up, and there's Freddie Cannon, Rock and Roll ABCs. The company went crazy. It was absolutely wild. And my career really exploded from there. Then from there, I went to run 20th Century Records and had
Amazing.
a run. Kung fu fighting, breaking coffee tables and radio stations, and the DeFranco family, and more in Barry White. I was very influential in the entire Barry White process. Worked for another fellow Armenian, Russell Rustigian, incredible man. Built Uni Records, founded Elton, Neil Diamond, Sonny and Cherry. Was an amazing record guy. And the career went from there. Went to Island, spent some time at Island working for Chris Blackwell. Went to Motown, worked for my boss was Joe Isgrove, great guy, still a dear friend. And I was involved in the Tina Marie and the Rick James and Stevie Wonder and Diana and all of that. We had a great run there, and then did some independent stuff in the 80s, and then decided. From the independent record promotion phase, I decided I couldn't do it anymore. It was not what I wanted. It wasn't what I got into this for. I got into this for the love of music.
What was the first thing that you founded after you decided to go on your own?
Well, there were a number of things. I was in the San Francisco area. I got very fortunate. I met a young man named Will Bronson, who now manages Killer Mike, and we built a hip hop label out of San Francisco, and we had Killer Mike on that label. We had Rakim. We had a Beach Boys documentary. We had Pastor Troy out of Atlanta. We had To Keep the Sneak, all of that stuff in that Bay Area, West Coast stuff. And we built an independent label, distributed. Wow. We were actually the third label that Jim Urey, who had Fontana at the time, that Fontana brought on board. We were the third label, which then turned into In Grooves, which is now part of Virgin.
Yes. Wow. And from there, after that, What was
Well,
your?
yeah. Well, I want to bring something up because I think it's really critical as we're talking to a lot of young musicians and
Yes.
a lot of young music executives coming up in this business. One of the things that I think it's a gift that I've been able to do is continually reinvent myself. I've always been able to go forward. I never look back. I would be able to find opportunities and seize those opportunities. I was a guy that took risks. Some worked, some were major failures. But you know what? I never stopped believing. And I think that's critical to be a young music executive today and to be an artist. You have to have faith in what it is that you're doing, and you have to believe in what it is that you're doing. And you can't give up. You have to just keep going forward, right? And so I had a great thing that happened to me that really set me up for where I am today. I don't talk about this too much because it's a personal thing, but I think it's such a huge part of my story and what's allowed me to get to this level, the chairman of a worldwide company that does billions of streams, that has people working for us all over the world. I got sober, and
Wow. So you had a dark moment in your life.
there was a dark moment, yeah,
Wow.
and it
Wow.
transformed my life.
And this dark moment, did it almost took your business and if your what
Everything.
you accomplished and everything you
Almost
stood for?
completely took me out. Yeah.
Wow. And you had to reinvent everything and revamp
Reinvent
yourself.
everything. Exactly.
Wow. Wow.
And that's one of the things that I love about this, because this business is forgiving. It's got great people that have made mistakes and that have come back. And we accept that. And I owe so much to this business. That's why to do something like this with you, Bob, it's really important to me.
Well, it's important to me because such messages, it's so authentic and real. It comes from somebody who is established, who worked himself from nothing to establish a great name, become successful, then come across this, I would say, I wouldn't call it a wrinkle, but I call a big bump that really almost took you down. And you took it as a learning curve and you turned it
Absolutely.
around
And
and you
it
became even bigger.
became bigger. And then so we went on and we started releasing a lot of these regional West Coast records. We had a lot of success. I think one year that little company did close to $5 million by
Wow.
ourselves, right? And-
Amazing.
yeah, and then it started to evolve. I made some business mistakes. I did some public stuff, and that didn't work out. And my partner at the time, Will, we decided to move on from each other, and I went on to I saw some opportunities. I started to feel what was happening in the Latin world, and I released some records um, through Virgin, through not through Virgin, but through Universal, and because what I found that there were some real um, the record companies were really, really taking advantage of a lot of these artists. They were still charging them, the taking the lion's share of the money and making the artist put up all the marketing money in advance. I go, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I started to put my foot into the Latin game a little bit. I had a top 10 record with one of Daddy Yankee's proteges. His kid's name is Miguelito. He was the
Yeah.
youngest Grammy winner of all time. He still holds the record. We had a top 10 record with him. And I think we sold about um, maybe 2,000 CDs. And I
Mhm.
said, well, this is it. That's it. Either we're going to reinvent ourselves one more time, or we're going to take our toys and go home. Well, I'm a street guy. I don't know anything. This is the only thing I know. I
It's
wasn't
so true.
about to go
It's
to
so
Home
true.
Depot. I wasn't
Yes.
about to go to Home Depot, Bob, and buy a drill and a saw and try to start fixing things
Which is
because
nothing wrong with it, but that wasn't your shtick,
I
as they say in
break
New York.
I break them. I don't fix them, right? So, you know, here I am. What do I do? What do I do? I said, well, we were getting our asses kicked on the street by young companies that were doing digital deals, and they were paying everybody every month. And I'm still with the old historic deal. 6 months before I received any money, and 90 days after that for returns and recoup and all of the other imaginary
Yeah.
fairy tale things that major record companies come up with to lead you down
Oh man, this is so. It reminds me of everything. You're bringing back
some
so many
path,
memories.
right?
Yes.
Some path that they want you to believe is great, you
Yes.
know? So I said, this is it. I'm done. I'm going in the digital business, right? So, having that.
It's around the time probably when Scott Cohen started. What is it? The Orchard.
Yes, it was
Yes.
all around that same time, and Empire was getting started out of San Francisco. The guy's got the same last name as you do.
Correct. Ghazi Shami. Yes.
Ravi Shami, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And so I started, and then I started to do it out of Costa Rica, and I got a developer, and I had a partner, and I wasted 2.5, 3 years not knowing what I was doing, and
Yes.
it was a nightmare. And until I met my current partner, Todd Turner, who is a
Yes.
tech genius, I failed miserably, miserably. But it's that Street Fighter thing inside of me. I wasn't ready to give up. So,
We should do a documentary on you.
I've had some offers. There's some very colorful things in my past. If you
Yes.
Google them, I could, that's for another time. Uh, uh, anyhow, so I met Todd Turner, and he goes, well, he started looking at this, and he goes, wait a minute, let me understand this. And I met him because I was pitching a bunch of NFL stars, right, in a combine down at the Fountainblue Hotel in
Yeah.
Miami that one of their agents and attorneys had put together, and because they were looking at deals. And so this guy that brought us there, and I pitched these NFL guys, he says, hey, you need to talk to this guy, Todd Turner. He knows how to market all this. And I go, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I thought I knew, but believe me, I had no frigging clue. I talked to Todd, and so he says, well, so now explain this to me again. So you mean to tell me in this digital music business that you have all of these relationships and contacts that you don't have to manufacture anything. You get paid up front. There's no shipping, and it's global. And I said, yeah, that's it. He goes, well, let's figure out a way how we can work together. And that was the beginning of Intercept Music.
Wow.
And without Todd and without Intercept Music, it was just another idea that would
Yes.
not made it.
Well,
And
the
so,
timing is great, I have to tell you, because the music business that we both know from back in the day is no longer just the music business or the record business. Now it's tagged with the music tech business. Are you in the music tech? You have to have the word tech in it because it
you,
operates on these fundamentals now. It does not, without technology, it does not operate. We're not talking about artist creation and talent, and no, that we're not going to touch that. That's the integrity of the music. But we're talking about how the music business operate day to day operation of business. It's tech, and I spoke to Todd a couple of times. An amazing guy, great partnership, definitely a great partnership
yeah.
you and Todd have in establishing this great company, Intercept Music. Because I saw your platform, I was blown away. You guys, you thought of everything else, everything that none of the what I'm not going to take again credit from any of the aggregators and distributors. They're all amazing, all
They all have
fantastic.
their own thing. I mean, everybody's
Yes,
got their own thing.
but
And there's
you guys took it to another level and you said, "Hey, what's missing? What artists want? Let's think about the artists. Let's think about what artists needs, what they want to see, what they want to have, what they like, And this is a big step towards empowering artists in 2025 and 2026. This is what we have now, artist empowerment. And a lot of artists want to be independent. They want to have their own distribution thing. They want to do their own marketing. They want to do their own uh, everything. Nobody wants to be locked into these 360 or 450 deals or whatever want to
Yeah,
call them.
whatever they are, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of those things, and then being the street guy, you know, I realized what was missing. Now I had some of those deals myself, so I knew. And had being within Grooves, we were able to make that deal within Grooves. And a great guy, one of the founders of In Grooves, Matt Burns, gave us a deal that allowed us to build this platform out. But what we knew was what was really missing, what people were really the most concerned about, were two things. It really boiled down to two things. One was transparency. So what we created is technology with transparency. And the other thing that we created was customer service. We have reps. We have reps for people. We have reps that you can get on the phone with that can help guide you through the process. It's a minefield.
Yeah.
And that was something. Customer service was one of the number one complaints that if you looked on the net and what
Because
people
the
said.
music business never really had that. It's never been there, that customer
Never been there.
service. No, no, it was more preferred service, preferred to certain artists, to certain people, but there's never been that customer service. And you just hit it on the nail. This is
And
really
Bob, but one of the things that we did is we also created the platform to not, we don't, we consider ourselves a little bit different than everybody else. We're not down, and you don't mean any disrespect when I use a competitor's name because everybody has their place. We're not DistroKid and we're not Virgin. We're somewhere in between. We're more of the company and the platform for artists and independent labels that are a little bit more serious about their career.
well, you took what's missing and you took what's working. And you
That's
said
correct.
we need to add that to what's working to be more innovative, to kind of
That's
not to
correct.
reinvent the wheel, but to add more to it to make the artist feel at home, at ease.
That's correct. And we're here to help them go to another level. And where that level takes them, and if they feel that they have to go to a major after that because a major has resources, we
Correct.
don't hold them back. We don't take anything from them. We don't require any of future rights or anything like that. It's I believe that it's a socially conscious company, and I'm really proud of that.
Congratulations. Intercept Music, again, really amazing. Um, Ralph, not to take away from you anything, you've been in the music business for a long time. You've seen it from 45 to the 12-inch to cassette to CDs to everything. And you saw the transition.
Yes.
And and always during these transitions, certain things kind of get away from the music business. What did we lose from then to now? And what would you like to see happening now?
It's really simple. That there, I want to. There's. It's a double-edged sword.
Hmm.
Let me talk about what we lost,
Hmm.
and then we'll talk about the opportunities.
Hmm.
What we lost was artist development. And if you just look at the grossing numbers of touring artists, the highest grossing numbers are more heritage artists that were around for a long time, that had multiple albums out, that were developed over the course of years. Today, unfortunately, we have the attention span of a fruit fly. If it doesn't happen instantaneously, it's onward next. I remember back in the day when Warner Brothers would stay with an act that they believed in, and they would nurture that act and take it to a point, and then they would break it, and the next thing you knew, you had Dire Straits or ZZ Top, right? But there was a development process that went along with that. Having said that, there's also a tremendous amount of opportunities today that weren't available then. And there are some things today that are very similar to what it was then. So there were singles back in the day. Today we have streams and downloads. And you still have to achieve the same goal. You still have to market. It doesn't happen automatically. but we use social media today. The other thing that we do today is the internet has broadened the horizons of the average listener because we were programmed to.
Hmm.
These kids today are not necessarily programmed to. If they like it, they don't care where it's from. If it was something that their parents listened to, or if it was something that they discovered on their own that's a reggae thing.
Hmm.
I'll give you a great example. I was in a car with my granddaughter. She's 15. And we were in Boise going to see her sister. And she said, can I put my playlist on 15? This is a few years ago. I said, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, what am I going to, how am I going to get tortured this afternoon? And she puts her playlist on and it's all doo-wop. And I'm a promotion guy. That's what I did my whole life. The first question, I went, how did you get that? Well, I saw, I heard some of this on YouTube and then I liked it. So then I had to create a playlist of doo-wop music. That would have never happened 20 years ago.
Correct.
So you've got
the exposure
discovery,
way more.
yes,
Yes.
in a way that was
Yeah.
never, ever possible before.
Correct. But you know what? You said something. We lost artist development, which is very true because right now, artist development is an A&R or somebody, an executive from a major record label or well-to-do record label. What they do, they go on social media and see who are their followers, how many streams they have, or what's the latest thing that went viral on TikTok or Instagram Reel or Shorts, which is good. But artist development is not that. Artist development totally different. Do you think there's a chance that artist development will come back, or certain things it's gone, will never come back?
No, I think it could still happen. I think that some companies may still try to do it, but the further they get from, or the further, let's put it this way, the more the board looks at how the companies are doing business, and let's be real, it comes down to boards and it comes
Yeah.
down to profitability, and they're going, wait a minute, why did we risk X amount in trying to develop when we have the Beatles, Sinatra, the Beach Boys, and we're making all this money every month? We don't ship anything. We don't manufacture anything. We don't pay anybody. We don't do anything. We just make money while we sleep. I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know.
Um, where do you see the music business going? Because there's a lot of changes, and technology is a big leading factor to our business. We went from physical to digital, and what's next? There has to be next, and there will be, whether we like it or not.
And there will
Nothing
be a
stays
next.
forever.
Well, I think people are consuming more music now than ever before.
Yeah.
That's number one. I think people are discovering music a lot differently than ever
Hmm.
before. And here's the other great news for us. This is something that in our lifetime, and you and I have been around for a minute or two, would never have thought that independent music would account for more than half of the music consumed today. And I think right
Incredible.
now it's about 49% of the music consumed is independent.
Well,
Now,
back in the digital day, that would never, in the
that
physical
would
day,
never
would never
happen.
happen. Yes.
Not a,
Yeah.
not a, not, not
Not a
even
chance.
no chance, not
Yeah.
a chance. So I think that there's opportunities. And here's
Yes.
what I think. If I were a young artist and I have young labels and young artists that come to me and I ask them the first question of what are you doing with your socials? How are you marketing yourself? Because that is the way that you are going to be able to reach more people. I've got a boombox artist that I'm going to personally get involved with and develop out of LA.
Hmm.
His kid's name is Geo. He makes sounds like nobody I've ever heard in my life before. But he's got 450,000 TikTok followers. I'm gonna bet on that.
Wow. Yeah. Well, absolutely. Why not?
Why not?
Yes. 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 What's next for Intercept Music? What's on the horizon? What's in the plan? And what's the future
Well,
of Intercept?
well, from a development standpoint, we really we have capabilities now of helping artists with respect to marketing plans using AI for certain things. And I think that AI, not AI created music, AI guidance in marketing is going to be the next thing. And having AI help us, already they can help you. What we've trained the AI to do for Intercept is based on what your actual numbers are, is a
Mhm.
marketing plan that we can come up with. So it doesn't make any sense to spend money where it's not going to do any good, right? So you've got 10,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and you've got your socials, your Instagram is 10,000 and your TikTok's 10,000. Well, we can
Mhm.
plug that into AI and it'll give you a budget on where you should spend your money in order to get yourself to the next level, whether it's playlisting, whether it's Google ads or Facebook ads, depending on the genre of the music. There's a whole system that we've put together.
Mhm.
But I think for Intercept, integrating more AI services are going to be a huge part of our future.
Absolutely. AI tools that help enhance and speed up the process and enhance it
Enhance the
and
process.
get the artists, yes, get whatever the artists need faster to their goal.
Yeah, the old days of throwing money at something and trying to make it work doesn't work anymore.
No, no,
It's got to
definitely
come
not.
from a real place.
Yeah,
And
correct.
AI can help you in that real place to spend your money where it's going to do the most good, to build your socials, to keep growing. The
Hmm.
socials, you mentioned it before. You got an A, and they call them A&R guys at a record company. They're scouring the internet to find out who's got the most followers, and
Following stream, yes, yes,
yeah,
following
and
and
that's how
and
they
which
find
song is going viral or video with a song
that's
that's
how they
going
find
viral.
deals to music
Yeah.
today.
Hmm. Amazing. Ralph, what's your advice to any of the young entrepreneurs who really, or just entrepreneurs in general, who want to break into the music business, not as an artist, but as a business executive, just like yourself? They're going to watch this episode and they're going to say, you know what? I like what Ralph stands for and what he accomplished. And he kept his eyes on the prize and never changes. Like, this is who I am. This is what I like to do. And you said it more than once and during this discussion, the fighter in me. I refuse to give up. I refuse to change to something else. I believe in what myself and what I do, and I know it's going to happen.
It's not something that you set out to do to be cool and get chicks. It's not something that you set out to do.
Mhm.
You've got to believe it. If you're a young music executive and you're trying to break in and you find an artist that you believe in, then you have to stick with that artist and you have to work through it with that artist and you have to take it step by step and build. But it comes from within. It's a feeling. I don't know how to describe it any other way, but it's a gut and it's a feeling. And you can't be afraid. If you're afraid, if you're afraid, you'll never make it because you're going
Mhm.
to take risks. And along the way, you're going to make mistakes. But how do you take those mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and parlay that into something greater? Therein lies the real entrepreneur and the real guy that's going to set himself apart from everybody else. I'm looking at what Todd and I have done for the last 5 years. Trust me, there's been a lot of mistakes along the way,
Oh,
but we
sure.
learn from those and we grow. And that's what you have to do. You have to believe. You have to have some faith that you're on the right course. And wherever that takes you, that's where it takes
So
you.
never stop believing.
Never
That's it.
stop.
Like that song said,
Like you
never
said, don't
stop
stop
believing.
believing.
Yes, absolutely.
Bill
Ralph,
Clinton's theme song.
yes, it was definitely a pleasure having you on Soundbreaker.
Oh,
Really
Bob,
extremely
this is great.
insightful and inspiring. Very inspiring
Thank you.
story.
It's
And
important
you're
to
still,
me.
you're not done. You're not done. You are
No,
not done.
I'm
You're
never
far away
done.
from hanging from hanging the towel. Far away.
Yeah,
Far
we're
away,
never
my friend.
done. We don't.
No.
It's not what we do.
Mm,
Here I am living a life and building a Latin division, and it's like the greatest thrill of my life. And a
amazing.
lot of the
Very
music,
inspiring.
but a lot of the music, Bob, I don't understand the lyrics, but guess what? I know how it makes me feel, and that's that feeling that gives
That's what
me
the
that.
music is about. It's
That's what
about
the music
feelings.
is about.
Yes, it's emotions.
It's emotion.
Absolutely. Yes. Ralph, really thank you for joining
Oh,
Soundbreaker. I
thank you so
appreciate
much, my
taking
friend.
the time and coming joining us here and
Absolutely.
sharing your experience and your inspiring story to
Thank you.
everybody out there. I love it. I definitely enjoy it.
Great.
Well, this concludes today's episode of Soundbreaker. Please make sure to follow us on socials and stay tuned for a new episode. And as Ralph said, today, it's the fighter in you. Just don't give up.
Don't
Believe
give
in
up.
what you do and just keep going forward.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again. See you
God
around.
bless. Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the Soundbreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.